This Sunday, Tesla's design chief Franz von Holhausen was a featured speaker, and he gave some new insights on the design of a robotaxi and what a fully autonomous ride-hailing experience would be like. Today, we'll watch 4 videos of Franz talking about his design principle and what are the key elements of an autonomous ride. But even more interesting is a video clip of Elon Musk talking about how the experience will be just like a tiny mobile lounge. Yes, he used those terms, a tiny mobile lounge. I've got Hans Nelson joining us. Hans has his own YouTube channel, Hans C. Nelson. Welcome, Hans.
Thanks for having me, Herbert.
So this was a fantastic experience at the X Takeover. We actually had Franz joining us, albeit remote, but it was fantastic. Not only did Franz join us for an hour talking about all the things, and we'll watch those clips, but we also had Elon himself come in and share his notes. So we'll watch those videos. What I think is really important is for us to go through, and I think that they drop some nuggets about how would you design for autonomy? What would this robotaxi first design vehicle look like? And, what is a tiny mobile lounge? If you combine them all together, I have a theory, and I'd be curious to see what you're thinking. So let's listen first to what he's saying about autonomy. His core design principles first, then we'll do his autonomy.
Wow, we approach. There's not like a specific recipe that truly governs everything that we do. We approach every project. I think like a good engineer should. From a first principles perspective, we look at the problem and try to find ways to solve it in an innovative way, but also in ways that enrich the user's life, the way that the user uses it, the interaction the user has, just make a great product. And I think we've always been focused on the end results of always trying to make the best possible product we can make. We've got some new products coming up. I know I won't be able to talk about those, but I think if you look at the track record that we've had to date, the amount of innovation, the amount of uniqueness that we brought to each product, I think they all stand on their own, and we're just getting better. I feel like we're just getting started, and I think product by product we're getting better and better at what we do. Yeah, I think believe it or not, I'm coming up on my 16-year anniversary. I've been at Tesla 16 years.
Congrats.
I joined August 1st, 2008. And when we started, it felt like we needed to hit a home run with every product. And I feel like we're still on that pace. And the pressure continues to add. But I think maybe the one of the hardest projects was Model S, because we really had a blank slate. And imagine somebody tells you to go write a novel, and you have a blank piece of paper, and where do you even start? I think now we've got some history behind us. We know what we can do. We know that we will continue to try to be, as innovative as possible. We have an amazing team now that we've been able to build up over the years, both in design and engineering across the board, and an amazing leader who just consistently pushes us to be better and better. We're never complacent, and I think that drive is something that we continue to push ourselves. And I think with the advancements in technology, both on the engineering side, the manufacturing side, but also in the AI space, and you see where things are headed with FSD, you see like this idea of autonomy really taking over. I feel like we're on, the kind of similar point in transportation history when the world transitioned from the horseless carriage to powered automobiles, and the excitement and the radical change that brought to the world. And here we are again, kind of on that precipice with, full self-driving, with autonomy about to radically shape how we're able to get around. And, I feel we're leaders in that space. And, we as a design team are tasked with really shaping that future, like creating the product, or like the vessel in which this amazing technology will move us around. And so, that in itself, the gravity of that is so powerful, and the ability to be at the forefront of such a massive change in transportation history and be really kind of, in a way, dictating where that's going to lead. Who doesn't want to be a part of that? That's amazing.
I love it. He is very committed. Sounds like very excited. What did you hear?
Yeah, we've actually got to have this conversation multiple times about Franz and his opportunity and his excitement to be, one of the most influential designers in what it feels like to be transported around here in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Because he's right. We are on the precipice of a radical transformation that once the artificial intelligence brains that drive these cars around are good enough and they can take this burden from us pretty much 24/7, and we are all given our own personal chauffeurs essentially, at costs that are ridiculously low, that'll almost be cheaper for you to have a chauffeur drive you around than it would be for you to drive yourself. Then that's just a radical transformation in what transportation for humans on roads looks like. And while Waymo and Cruise and some of these companies have been creating vehicles that can operate in this theoretical space, those things are not operating at, because they're very expensive vehicles, they're not operating in large scales. And so the number of humans that get to experience those and enjoy those things is just very low. And the approach to design that Waymo and Cruise has taken is kind of constrained by their business model and their hardware assumptions and all those things. And for Franz, he does have a lot more of a blank slate, and what he does in this space is going to impact, radically more people than the Waymo vehicle or the Cruise vehicle. And so he does, like, he is right there and living kind of in the future, because he knows now, like, if the event now is on 10/10, like, there's not really any design changes that are made between now and October 10th. And so he knows exactly what
Mm-hmm.
this Robotaxi thing looks like, what it feels like, all of the things that they have thought through, that they have tried to predict what you and I as people will be able to enjoy, or the things, like, try to minimize distractions or minimize things that are uncomfortable. And like, they have poured their blood, sweat, and tears into this vehicle for years and years now. And I'm sure he's just, like, extremely excited to share it and for us to get to see it, because it is going to be, I think, a transformative moment. And he has his fingerprints all over it, along with, it's Elon's design ethos embodied by Franz. And then you've got Lars and all of the engineering constraints that are put on that, and all those things are in this beautiful dynamic tension of, how do we create this actual product, and all of these things come together. And it's going to be a phenomenal product to
Yeah.
finally get to see and experience.
Yeah. What he was saying, what I thought was cool, he said that, Model S was example of that scenario, whereas they had to kind of start from scratch. They didn't yet know what they were going to build, how they're going to make it, because Roadster was take an existing car and put it on. And that's exactly what I think Waymo and Cruise are. They take cars and then they just slap sensors on. That's the experience. Here, he's going, whoa, we have the chance to start from scratch, think about it, don't have any design constraints, just like they did with the Cybertruck. And so, he's thinking of autonomy, and I think he dropped a couple little nuggets here. Let's listen to him talking about autonomy. Like, how do you think about it? How does he think about it? And then we'll debate how what I think I heard.
How does autonomy and AI impact the design process?
Well, it's somewhat uncharted territory. And so we're constantly looking at how do we design into a space where nobody's been. And, we have hints and ideas of what an autonomous experience will feel like. We've all used Ubers and Lyfts and ride sharing, and that gives us a taste of that. We fly in planes, we go on buses and trains. And so I think we have a sense for where an autonomous transportation could take us. But at the transition from going from a powered, we're so used to driving and being in control, to giving up control to something that's many, many times safer already. Even today, FSD is multiple times safer than a human driver. That will continue to improve over the days, weeks, months, years. And so, giving up that control and then creating a space to move us around, and then allow access to people that actually don't have the ability to afford transportation. I think that's what keeps us and my team, really focused. This ability to create the thing, or things plural, that will ultimately kind of free up the ability for people to move more safely and go to places where they couldn't afford to go before, or just couldn't manage. And I think just the knowledge of that inspires us every day.
Okay. Things or things plural, which is like multiple Robotaxi autonomous. So I'll let you start first, and then I'll share my experience or my thought later.
Well, no, I'm curious what your thought is. So we'll start there, and then we'll branch out.
All right, fine. So I love what he said, right? He was going, we've all experienced autonomy already. Planes, trains, buses. You're already trying out these different ride hailing services like Uber. So those are his initial thinking about, well, we already have it. So when you think about planes, trains, and buses, it doesn't say that you have to be in a tight little confined space sitting there. I mean, that's what Uber is. But even Uber, you have kind of the whole back to do whatever you want to do with it. I think that, and we'll listen to Elon talk about mobile lounge. It means to me that it doesn't have to be this facing forward. Well, you would debate about that, right? Obviously, even in a plane or train, you still kind of like facing forward, but you can even say face sideways. And then the ability to stand up. Like if you think about the best autonomous drive, you feel like you can walk around. So that's why I've been saying that I think it's going to be more like a London cab, higher, more space. You could possibly, stand around, not stuck in a small little area. Yeah.
I think it's an interesting thought. And over the long arc, I believe that you're probably correct that those will be options that are available. I think that one of the things, while the technology is A, newer, but B, also having to drive on roads that have other human drivers, where you're not really going to be able to say with 99.99999% confidence that you're never going to get into a crash, that you do actually have to design in accommodations for crash. And that's the primary reason for forward facing, that you're much safer in a head-on collision if you're forward facing than any other orientation. Obviously, there's a lot they could do to mitigate that if they really wanted to. But like that's part of the reason that standard practice, even for passenger seats in the rear, is forward facing. So I think that the initial concepts will probably still be all forward facing, but then how much height do you have? How much resource constraints do you want to put? Like the larger the enclosure that you have, the less efficient it is from an aerodynamic perspective. Like there's other constraints.
I don't care.
Yeah.
You and I've discussed this, right? Why do they care? If Robotaxi is so economically efficient, they're not going to optimize for cost.
I mean, it depends on how. I don't think in the initial rollout that's true, because they've talked about operating at basically cash flow break even, as
Mm-hmm.
they're building out these fleets. And if you have an optimized, more efficient cost structure, then you get to build a larger fleet while you're operating at cash flow break even than you do if you're not. So, I mean, regardless of how big your, the top number is when you're doing division, um, if you make the bottom number bigger versus smaller, then the ratio ends up being much larger. So I when they're saying a mobile lounge, kind of lean towards still something that's very luxurious feeling, but like reclined
Mm-hmm.
um like relatively spacious feeling, but even though like with a space that's not necessary, like it feels bigger than it is kind of what I'm thinking. And then the like I would be kind of surprised if we don't see some sort of full windshield style screen that, there's the little computer in the front that will be an interface between the people in the vehicle and the car. But I think as far as a viewing experience, you'll probably end up having the entire windshield area
Right.
as
Multiple walls,
a
I'm thinking.
TV.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, screens and those types of things. So
I just looked up the definition of a lounge. It's a room in a private home or public building for leisure activities. Okay. That's what a lounge is. So let's listen in to why we're talking about mobile lounge, because actually it was Elon Musk who said it. This is him talking about it.
Well, I can't give it away, gotta have some, you don't want to give the show away before the show, So I think it'll be cool.
Just a tease.
I think it'll be cool. I think people will be pretty excited, yeah. It's like I do wonder, like in the actual event itself, how many people will realize how profound it is, what we're going to show? I think some people will understand how profound, not everyone will, but it will be obvious in hindsight.
So I know we've been going 45 minutes. I just want to do a quick time check. Do you want to keep going a little bit more, or because we're so grateful for your time?
5 or 10 minutes more.
Okay. So yeah, everyone, thank you, Elon, for your time. One thing I wanted to ask you is, so, we have, obviously the latest vehicle, the Model 3 Performance, or really the Model 3 Highland has been out, the Cybertruck came out. When you think of just obviously even the future of transportation, and obviously that's obviously where Franz comes into play with the design, but when you think of unsupervised FSD, how does that change the way you even approach tackling or building something like the future of transportation? And again, I know I don't have to throw the design aspect into it, but just when you think of what is next, how does the future of transportation impact that?
Well, if you're not driving, you're really effectively sitting in like a tiny lounge. And then, so, having, say, being entertained with being able to watch movies or play video games or work, it's really, the car just becomes like a tiny mobile lounge. That's or you could sleep, whatever you want to do. You could drink too. You're not driving, so so it's this thing where it's like a little mobile lounge. It's not something that you have to be focus your attention on driving all the time. So it's a completely different experience. One cool thing I should mention is that would be, I think, interesting down the road is also for Optimus, for people that have lost their limbs, that if you take Neuralink, basically being able to control, which the Neuralink version 1 telepathy allows you to control electronic devices. If somebody's lost their arms or legs or whatever the case,
Nope, I think we lost him. Oh, sorry.
And attaching that and enabling, combining that with a neural link would give them essentially cybernetic limbs. Kind of like Luke, I don't know, like Luke Skywalker and Empire Strikes Back, where you get like a robot hand. So I think that could be pretty incredible for people that have lost limbs, being able to have like a cybernetic limb. I think that'd be a cool sort of combined effort between Neuralink and Tesla.
Yeah, kind of weird that he answered it. He brought that up after he was asked about the future of transportation. Okay, so I don't know why I included that.
Yeah, that I was thinking the same thing. I was like, why did that trigger the Neuralink Optimus link? Well, we'll just have to ponder that one for a while because I don't have a good answer. But I will come back to say he did say lounge, but he also said tiny lounge, not big lounge. So at least at first, I do think we'll get larger and larger things over time, and that we'll explore more of the space of possibilities for different form factors on vehicles once we expand beyond the first ones.
Okay, so you're going to stick with it, eh? So you still believe it's going to be a 2-seater compact car, but allows you to lie down. There's a lot of room because there's no steering wheel, brakes, and things like that. You have a kind of a wider, lot more space, but it's still going to be a 2-seater. And of course, you can lie down. That's maybe so you're thinking, but you can't stand up in it. You don't have a lot of, it's not a box design. It's a compact car design.
Yeah, not quite London cab style yet, which I could very well be wrong here, but one of the reasons that I'm thinking in that direction is just because so far when they have teased us with things like little images, whether it was Optimus hands or the light bar on the Cybertruck or, all these images in the past, they have turned out to be very, very, very accurate representations of what we end up seeing ultimately. And so if you go to the Walter Isaacson biography and the initial, which obviously we know is an initial prototype, I think that's going to be probably close on the form factor, even if it's not something that looks exactly the same.
Okay, well, the Walter Isaacson book, when they showed that car, that's not what they're going to, that's a red herring. They're not going to show you anything close to that. And then when they showed you the vehicles that they're about to make and they had these cloth covered one, there was one that was a box style. That's what I'm saying to you. It's going to be the Robotaxi.
Oh, I would, hey, it wouldn't hurt my feelings. I would love to see that.
Here's the other reason. Okay. Here's the other reason why it could be the box style. Because if it's unboxed and you're creating a box style version of the Robotaxi, it's a lot easier to then snap it like Lego and make it from a 2 box to a 4 box to an 8 box to a 12 box vehicle. You just connect them together like a bus, as opposed to, this weird design here, and then you have to create a different design for multiple variations. But that's another possible reason.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the design concepts for the boring tunnel, loop transportation system that have come out of Tesla, they're like the little glass, almost like train car looking vehicles. And something like that is definitely within the realm of possibility. Especially when you look at the form factor of the front and ends of those, and then look at how they designed the Tesla Semi, and like the shapes are very similar. And there's a, physical reason for that's a very aerodynamic shape for something that is so large, that it could be something that's more along the lines of like you think of a Volkswagen bus shape where it's pretty much just a hot dog, and very, very similar on the front, very similar on the back, and then you could say modular in length.
So when we piece together what Franz said, all right, so Franz started off by saying we design by first principle first. And when he talked about how did they design the Cybertruck, the first thing they said was, what is a truck? And a truck is tough. And what does that mean? Okay, it needs to be stainless steel. Then once they decided on that turned out to be a design of the actual shape and the look. In this case, they're going to go, what is an autonomous ride? It's going to be an experience. And it's going to be this ability for you to relax, enjoy, do all these things. And then from that, it will then dictate the shape and, you know, what it needs to be there. So that's what I'm saying. That's how they think. It's going to be completely different. It won't be a car. It won't be something just like the Cybertruck did not look like a truck. This is not going to look like a car. Doesn't have to be. Okay.
Maybe, yeah. Hey, like I said, it wouldn't hurt my feelings if I was
We'll see
wrong
what
on
happens.
this and it didn't look anything like the Walter Isaacson biography prototype.
It's not going to look like that. Okay, let's listen to Franz talking about, you know, the how he sees the design and his impact to legacy.
16 years ago, you obviously decided to leave legacy auto, Mazda specifically, go to Tesla. But, you know, what do you hope your legacy will be in the world of automotive design?
Well, I don't really actually think about that ever. I think, I guess if I think about it, what Tesla has accomplished has already been way beyond whatever I imagined an impact I could have as a designer. And so I'm just thrilled to have been a part of it, thrilled to be a part of it. And it's amazing to see the impact that, it's amazing to see the products that we create, that, everybody probably in the audience has owned at one point or another time. And just, I'm still amazed that, we've been able to accomplish what we did and, turn the industry. I think if Tesla wasn't around, we wouldn't have seen this massive electrification of the industry and, bluer skies and, ultimately a safer planet, and trying to head in that direction. And, I think now with, what we're doing in autonomy, I think we'll continue to be a leader there and see how we can also move the auto industry in that direction as well. And I'm just thankful and grateful to Elon to have been a part of this journey and, create beautiful products that people, love and are attracted to, maybe if they don't even know what they are, and want to learn more, because they're just attracted to it. And ultimately, I think if, leaving great products behind or having created great products and enriched all of our lives in some meaningful way is probably the best legacy, I guess. But we have so much more to do. I think, like, I can't think about a legacy. I think about how
what's next,
what's next and what we're working on. And, that's where my headspace is.
What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I love the comments about desirability. And, that is something that they, even with something polarizing like the Cybertruck, that obviously there's a lot of people that hate it and they anti-desire it. They want to never own such an ugly thing ever. But I think that's the flip side of making something that is so unique. And there are, on the opposite side, so many people that, like, they absolutely have to have this crazy, insane looking vehicle. And, I think the Model S stood out quite a bit. The Model 3 is very, it's a refinement of the Model S platform, but it's very palatable, like, for a general audience. And it is probably hard for general people to say, hey, oh, that's a Tesla compared to, oh, that's, another generic, compact sedan, from the outside. But the way that they were able to, like, it is truly a triumph of design and engineering for them to be able to make an electric car that looks and feels and drives the way that the Model 3 does, like, in so many ways just superior to a BMW driving experience, which, a lot of people would say, well, if you want the ultimate driving experience, you got to drive BMW. But to make the Model 3 an EV to feel even better from a driving dynamic standpoint than a BMW, and then package it in this kind of nondescript, beautiful packaging, but just, something that doesn't necessarily strike people the same way that a Cybertruck would. Is, that's its own different challenge. And so it's fun to see the evolution of, different expressions of Elon and Franz's design ethos, from
Yeah.
the Model S, and then you got like the Model X is just another one of those crazy things, and you come back and you get a little bit more conservative with the Model 3 and the Model Y, because those are supposed to be these mass market things, and then you get crazy again with the Cybertruck, and now with the autonomy, and like I think we've only begun to see what his legacy looks like. And so I think that, to me, what it boils down to is Franz and Tesla's ability to basically break molds and think to think about what things are going to be in their ultimate expression, and to pull that forward into as early a time as possible. And so we'll see that with EV in general as a platform, but then also autonomy. And I think that one, I think the autonomous piece is orders of magnitude more impactful than EV. And that's just going to be an incredible piece of legacy that he'll have for a long, long time to come.
Yeah, they flipped it around. Franz actually talked about this, that instead of form determining function, in their case, the function decides the form. So the function of electric vehicle, all the benefits of that, figured out that you needed to create the car that way. Now Cybertruck, of course, and even the bot, by the way, Elon talked about how the bot can be skinned and you can actually put different wraps on it, just like you can put all the wraps. Franz talked about he's actually he loves the fact that people can put their own expression of their Cybertruck. And then now Elon confirmed you can do that with a robot too. So thank you so much, Hans. Appreciate that. Follow Hans on X and also YouTube at Hans C. Nelson. And then a big shout out to Tesla owner Silicon Valley, John Stringer, Kelvin G. They put on just a great show. They were able to bring Franz there. They were able to bring, Elon himself. They had Jared Isaacman. It was just a top-notch production level, best thing you could, everything you could think of at the event, but also just the people that were there, and great questions too. So shout out to those guys. It's called the X Takeover, and that's where we got these clips. So appreciate that. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.